Hello, and welcome to the Ethanol Producer Magazine podcast. I'm your guest host, Anna Simet. We're here live from the International Fuel Ethanol Workshop trade show floor. I am here with Alicia ElMamouni from Pivot Clean Energy Company. Alicia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So glad to have you. So let's start today with having you tell us a little bit about Pivot Clean Energy, and maybe you can explain a little bit about how you work.
Definitely. Pivot is a global coalition for expanding bioethanol for household energy. And the need for that is because around the world, nearly half the world's population still lacks access to modern energy cooking solutions. And that actually translates to about 4 million deaths every year from household air pollution. So there's a huge need to transition households from polluting fuels like wood and charcoal to clean solutions. And we really believe that bioethanol is one of the key solutions in that energy transition. And so that's the basis for what we do.
Okay, got it. So why was Pivot started?
Pivot was started, one, because of the need. Obviously, there's a huge gap in providing clean energy for some of these households around the world. But there was also a gap within the clean cooking sector. And so you have other energy groups that are working on clean cooking, LPG, electric, solar, and they have organized advocacy groups that help promote policy and standards and business development. Bioethanol really had nothing, and so Pivot was started in order to, one, not only raise visibility around clean cooking, but make sure that bioethanol had a voice in that conversation and could be seen as one of the key solutions for the energy transition.
Really interesting. So, Alicia, can you share some of the things Pivot has accomplished over the last couple of years?
Sure, and I want to go back and just describe how we work and how that's allowed us to accomplish some of these things.
Sure.
So Pivot is based off of three main pillars that really work in tandem to be effective. And so we try to push those forward in parallel. The first one of those is smart policy and standards. It is critical to have harmonized standards and supportive policy in order for bioethanol to succeed. We see that in the transportation industry, across clean fuels, and fuels in general in the marketplace. And so we work with groups like ISO, ASTM, American National Standards Institute to introduce and promote standards that can help with clean and effective fuel and stove solutions. Policy is important for governments to consider as they look to transition to clean fuels. And that could look like implementing import duties, reduced import duties or exemptions, looking at placing reductions or exemptions on the value-added tax for bioethanol fuel and technologies, manufacturing equipment, et cetera, that comes into country and really helps stimulate clean energy transition. And so we work to help demonstrate the demand and the need for those sorts of policies and standards to be supportive for an enabling environment. We also work on advocacy and communication, so doing events like this, helping to raise visibility, providing resources for people through a website, through blog articles, through networking opportunities, capacity building events, and then also connecting individuals within the industry. So not only the sector that we're here today with, the bioethanol industry, but also adjacent sectors that are impacted: health, environment, climate, gender, et cetera, and bringing those individuals together to work collaboratively so we can have maximum impact. And then the third pillar we work on is business development. And we identify key partners that can really escalate bioethanol businesses on the ground and help provide critical capital that allows them to scale and attract further investment. And then we work to provide the MRV activities that go along with that. And so over the past couple of years, we've been able to put out multiple blog articles. We've published 3 market reports that help demonstrate the potential of bioethanol in different regions around the world. We do hybrid, virtual and physical workshops and capacity building events. We rolled out 5 webinar series with ARSE, which is an African standards organization. So really working to establish ourselves as the bioethanol expert within the household energy space.
Very interesting. You guys are doing some great work. So within the scope of global markets, what is the commodity opportunity and where are the most promising markets?
Yeah, the commodity opportunity is huge within household energy. Almost everybody around the world, no matter where you live, cooks, right? It's something that we can all relate to. And so in sub-Saharan Africa alone, that's over a $40 billion market opportunity.
Wow.
And to use Nigeria as an example, they have a 10% blending mandate that they are trying to achieve for transportation by 2030. Right now, that supply gap looks like 2 billion liters for them. If you were to add a 30% transition to clean cooking on top of that, you have over a 3 billion liter supply gap. And so that's like 870 million gallons. So it's not an insignificant amount of fuel.
Right.
And albeit Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa, but it demonstrates the potential of what could be achieved there within a bioethanol economy. And we see other countries that are quickly scaling and coming on board. Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, Madagascar. These countries, Mozambique, these countries are starting to scale operations. Cocoa Networks is present in Kenya, and they have over 1 million households that are using bioethanol stoves. They just moved into Rwanda. I would also make a comment that there's been a lot of buzz lately around the gasoline demand capping because of, one, more economical engines, the advent of EVs in the marketplace, and so we're going to start to see that gasoline demand plateau or even drop. That has implications for bioethanol as well.
Right.
And so producers need another market to put fuel into. They're going to be needing another commodity opportunity. And so global blending for bioethanol for transportation and for cooking is a huge opportunity that they can take advantage of.
Super interesting. So, Alicia, what other impacts are realized when bioethanol for household energy expands?
Yeah, the great thing about using bioethanol as one of the clean energy fuels is that it really encompasses the entire value chain, starting with agriculture. But it restores health. So when you remove all of the harmful particulate matter that comes from combustion with wood and charcoal, you're removing the health implications from the home. And so you're replacing it with a clean source of fuel that immediately begins to change the health landscape in a home. So you're restoring health, you're reducing carbon emissions. Carbon emissions from household energy are currently on par with the aviation industry on an annual basis. So 2% of global carbon emissions come from household energy. And when you can eliminate the cutting and over-harvesting of wood for charcoal and fuel use, you're also preserving those forests as carbon sinks. So you're further preserving the environment. You're empowering women. Typically, you're giving women an average of 20 hours of their week back.
Wow.
Through time savings, and that can be used toward education, toward meaningful employment. You are, like I said, strengthening the agricultural backbone through feedstock, better resources, better inputs to improve yields. You're expanding markets. You have new commodity opportunities, new bioproduct opportunities. That creates jobs. So you have green jobs that are created along that entire value chain. Stove manufacturing, ethanol production, sales and marketing. You're growing global demand for a fuel. So we would love to see local production, regional production, international production, because that really helps with price stability, it helps with consistent supply. And then that also helps with national security, right? We talk about that in the U.S. too. You can reduce your dependency on imports. And then in a lot of places in Africa, you have a percentage of charcoal being taxed that goes to fund terrorist activities. And so when you can provide a clean source of fuel that's locally grown, that benefits the country from a security perspective as well.
Great points. So how does this interact at all with the blending market, and how?
We see a lot of synergy between transportation and cooking markets. You can build policies that are supportive of both markets when you move into a new country and you're looking at building new policies, productive policies into their regulatory frameworks. You can put policy in place that positively impacts both blending markets. Oftentimes the conversation when you're introducing bioethanol as a cooking fuel into a country, then opens the door for those blending mandate conversations as well, or vice versa. A lot of countries have blending mandates in place that they are not fulfilling, and so helping to open the conversation there and help them realize the huge scope of what they could be introducing into their country to build a better economy. And so we see a lot of synergy between the two markets to work together.
Super interesting. So my last question is, who can get involved with Pivot and how can people get involved?
Yeah, anyone can get involved with Pivot. Obviously, there is a financial partnership that can happen. We're a nonprofit, and so financial commitments help us further our programming, help support operators as they expand, and really demonstrate the viability of a bioethanol cooking business. Right now, that's in Africa, but there are many areas of the world that need this realized. So we've got everyone from individuals to other nonprofits to renewable fuels organizations to private sector that are supporting us. And the sector in general is seriously underfunded. I think to catch up to where we need to be in order to address SDG 7 by 2030, the private sector needs to put in $11 billion a year, which is a huge amount of funding.
Yeah.
And so even a little bit helps continue to reach toward those goals. But then we also have affiliate memberships, and those would be partners that come alongside us and help us realize our goals, whether that's through research or capacity building events, and are usually organizations that have similar goals to us. And then we also do a lot of capacity building events where we bring on expert speakers in agriculture, trade, policy, standards, market development, business development. And so that's open for anybody to participate in as well and come alongside and help with those events. So if anybody's looking to engage in bioethanol expansion on a global level and also start to tackle some of those more serious climate, social, environmental issues, please reach out to Pivot. We're happy to collaborate and network with people in the industry.
Awesome. Well, this has been really fascinating. I learned a lot. You guys are at booth 2034 for those around us. And then, Alicia, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast and telling us more about Pivot.
Thanks for having us. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.